As 2023 winds to an end, iRacing adds a brand new stop on its special event calendar, and boy is it going to be an exciting one. Welcome along to the BRSCC iRacing Formula Ford Festival as we unleash these drivers at Brands Hatch. Delighted to have you along to RaceSpot TV, to the iRacing Esports Network, where my name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside for this one by Lewis McLeod. And Lewis, we've commentated on plenty of low-powered, exciting racing, but I don't think we've ever commentated on what we're in for here today.
Yeah, now I always say I absolutely despise this circuit. Not a fan of Brands Hatch Indy. Love the GP layout, but Brands Indy's not my favourite. But in cars as small as this, as low power as this, as low downforce as this, over what will be 4 short races, this is going to be so much fun, if a bit chaotic.
Just a little bit. You've been watching along through some of the earlier attempts that some of these drivers may have had at a iRacing Formula Ford Festival. And of course, it comes at the end of what is a very long special event calendar. We still have 2 more to go, the Winter Derby and the Chili Bowl all to come, but just after the Fuji 8 hour, a week after that, I mean, Lewis, what a difference. 8 hours versus an hour of racing, and what we're going to cram into all of that here today.
Yeah, we're talking, this is not an endurance race at all. These are short races. We'll do a couple of heat races. We'll do a last chance race, and those will total less than 10 minutes each. And then the finals, less than 20 minutes. It is so short, so exciting. I'm pretty sure we'll see a couple of wrecks, but I think I will see a very different driver line than what we saw back in Fuji. Let's go with that.
Yes, maybe different, but no less strong in quality. We'll talk about that in a moment's time. But here's a look at the format. Qualifying has just gotten underway. 8 minutes, 2 laps. It's the Brands Hatch Indy layout. They're not going to need all 8 minutes. And so that will then mean we split the drivers into a maximum of 28 per heat, with top 13 in each of those advancing 10 laps apiece. We know those are going to be action-packed and pretty bonkers. Then an LCQ. The bottom drivers get a chance to fight for 10 more laps. The top 4 drivers advance from there. And Lewis, it's a 20-lap final where 30 drivers battle it out to be crowned the champion.
Yeah, the important numbers. First race we want 13, second race we want 13, third race we want 4. Those are the numbers we're paying attention to build our way up into the final. It's going to be an exciting final, that's for sure, but all the build up to it, there's so much pressure. I was watching yesterday drivers like even Kelvin van der Linde falling over a little bit at the hurdle in the last chance qualifier. That last chance qualifier is going to be absolutely mind-boggling. At the moment, by the way, we've got 42 drivers in the event, and the numbers are still the same, 13, 13, 4, and then we get our final. So that's still the same.
It's important to note that even if we didn't fill up the grid, those cutoff numbers still remain. Here's a look from up above at the shortened Brands Hatch Indy layout. Now, of course, you don't get the sense of the undulation, especially through turns 1 and 2 that this track has. And, of course, the start is going to be maybe the most important time of them all, Lewis, staying out of trouble and getting your race underway.
For me, the danger spot on the first lap isn't even turn 1, it isn't even turn 2. It's coming down to Graham Hill Bend, that left-hander, the first left-hand you come across. That's where the concertina effect really comes into it, and that run into clearways, the final corner on that very first lap. Those 2 points are the real danger zones, which is kind of weird for a second. You always assume it's the first or second corner, but no, around here it's those 2. On that first lap, you can always get a little bit unbalanced. Someone will try and make it 4 wide, and I can tell you for sure that ain't going to work.
I mean, you can try, but it's not going to end well for most of the drivers. Now, it's not going to stop some from attempting it. We talked briefly about the strength of field that we have here. I mean, we've got top-level drivers from the world of sim racing, drivers with iRatings up there higher than Lewis and I can dream about. But, Lewis, we've also got drivers who have gone out there and battled in the real world itself.
Yep, you've got drivers like Jason Smith, who obviously reached their way through to the final in the real Formula Ford Festival, going through the heats, then the semi-finals, and then into the final. I think in a top 6 in the heats as well. Actually, looked like a pretty strong driver, taking part in this, and did win yesterday. Plenty of other drivers on there to really keep an eye on. Of course, you've got Gordy Much, who I have just seen has binned it in qualifying, so he'll be starting probably a little bit lower down than where he was, currently 13th. That's the British Formula 4 Esports Championship leader at the moment after 3 consecutive race victories. You've got the support series for that, the Formula Ford series that supports the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Henry Moore, the championship leader of that, a winner around here, starting from at the moment in 2nd place in the qualifying session. See what lap times we've still got left to go though.
And look at the margin on the left-hand side of the screen. Damon Woods, Henry Moore, Jordan Kelly, Jason Smith, and then Tom Katsadonis. Top 5 drivers split. Less than a 1/10 of a second. And then, yes, Dylan Burst is still within a 1/4 of a second of pole position, but as Andre Castro comes back to the line, he shows us that maybe the optimal lap time to be found on the opening lap than rather the second lap. An identically liveried machine as we switch back to Thomas Schraeg, who runs his way to the line. Again, 47.954 to beat. That seems like a bit of a banker time initially, 48.623 to go.
It should always be the second lap is faster around here. Unless you've made a mistake, that second lap should always be the faster of the 2. Tyre temperatures, and even then, if you kept going, if you had a 5-lap session, the lap times would keep getting faster. It's why they're actually so much slower in qualifying than they were in practice. Damon Woods set a 47.5 in practice. Henry Moore set a 47.3 in practice. So we're running half a second, 6/10 of a second slower than that in this session. So keep an eye out for some last changes, depending on who's not actually done their times yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are some drivers out there and just circulating for the laps. That's an 8/10 of a second improvement for Jacob Tofts, and that gets him up into the top 6, and that's important. Remember, top 13 out of each of the heats will advance, and you want to try and make sure that you've got as good a starting spot as possible. Thomas Schraeg back towards the line, up into 9th position, so he'll be the final driver to improve, and not bad indeed.
Last lap of the final yesterday in the evening race, Thomas Schraeg got into the side with quite a silly move at the final corner on Henry Moore. Caused a little bit of a stir. That dropped Moore back off. They were battling for the final spot on the podium. So I'm pretty sure there might be a couple of bit of things in there. Also did put on the best move of the day anyway. So we're on board with Gordy Much though, who I'm pretty sure is not going to be on a time that's counting. He's just left the pit lane, but I think this is just getting his eye in a little bit for the race, because he did fail from his 2nd lap, meaning that he could technically go out again, but it's not. There's no lap time counting here.
Correct. Unfortunately, he is one of the drivers preventing us from going directly into the first heat of the day.
Boy.
But it gives us an opportunity, I guess, to talk a little bit about Mr. Gordy himself, as he's not going to practice a start or anything. He's just, like you say, warming up himself to go. Yeah, he, of course, has taken the championship lead in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, and is part of the Apex Racing team. Do they still have that weird monument of his head around the Corby facility?
Oh, that I don't know, but he does have quite a tash at the moment.
Oh, does
so
he?
There is that, yes. Obviously Movember, so it's fair enough. Probably one of the few people on the grid that can actually grow a tash, because there's quite a few young drivers out there. But I was having a conversation with him. He thinks the tash is actually giving him a little bit of extra speed.
That's a lie.
And confidence. And he said, his other half said, absolutely not. At the end of November, you're getting rid of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, the only
Fair
people
enough.
that like the stash is usually the person with the stash themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I've never met anyone who's like, other half's like, oh no, I love the idea that he's got a big old mustache. No one's like that.
And so I do believe that as qualifying comes to an end, Damon Woods grabs pole position, Henry Moore second, but they will all, each of them rather, respectively grab the starting spot at the front of their respective heats and will filter the field in behind them. Quick rundown then through the starting grid, because they're probably not going to give us much time to run our way through it. So Damon Woods alongside Jordan Kelly, showing our true international flavour of this event, will start on the front row. Tom Katsadonis and Dylan Burst make it an all-Australian second row, with Thomas Schrage and Fraser Smith lining up behind them, 5th and 6th positions. And Medema in those TNT Racing colours is alongside Gordy Much, with Dan Amor and then Morgan Burkhardt through the rest of the top 10. Isaac Phelps, Jordan Gronkowski, 11th and 12th positions, with 13th for Luca Becker, 14th for James McCritchie, Valentin Bonney, Christian Berendia, and then Tobias Siegner and James Bell make up the rest of the top 18. Love that Lego livery on the James Bell car. Paolo Lopez, Andrew Petty, Dylan Freckleton. That's the rest of the first seat, and let's not forget, 21 enter, 13 go directly through.
Yeah, again, few drivers to really note on this one. Dan Amor, also a race winner around here in the Formula Ford Support Series to the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. He'll be starting basically alongside Gordy Mutt, so might see a move from him early doors. Isaac Phelps as well, and sorry to point out, I always point out in the championship as well, he's the highest penalised driver in that championship. We'll have to wait and see what he can do from 11.
You like calling out drivers, though.
I love doing it.
As do I at this point, but it's now ready for us to go. It's the first of two heats. Let's not forget, 13 drivers will advance to the main event of the BRSCC iRacing Formula Ford Festival. And as the engines rev, it's a good start from Damon Woods at the front, but instantly these low-powered Formula Fords all swarm their way down in through turn number 1. It's all building up the speed here, side by side between Medema and Much slightly further back, but no one else really able to go for the lunge as we build up towards Druids for the first time of asking.
Yeah, pretty handy start there from Woods from the front. Plenty of side-by-side as you expected. This is the point where I was a bit curious to see whether we're going to see any drama. We haven't seen any thus far, but as you can see, a couple of moves in the mid-pack, but nothing too major. Thankfully, they managed to get their way through Graham Hill Bend, the build-up towards the final corner. This is where things get tricky. It gets so narrow around here, you cannot really send a move down the inside on the first lap, but thankfully they work their way through cleanly, and it's only Isaac Phelps working his way up the order.
So there's one slight swap around, but really in the fight for the top 13, not really much changing at the end of the opening lap, and there's only 10 of these. Remember, lap times under 60 seconds. It's going to fly on past each of these heat races. You don't have much time to make moves happen. And as much as you might not think that there's incentive to fight up towards the front, as a couple of cars off in towards the gravel, finishing position in the heat determines your starting spot in the final.
Yeah, Jordan Gronkowski was the one that went wide there at the first corner. If you dip two wheels on the left-hand side and that gravel coming down the hill, it just completely stops the car, basically. It's what dropped them down the order, as you can see. Oh, it's a big slide in the first corner as well.
And Valentin Bonney, one of the other machines that got mixed up in that one then, as end of the second lap will filter in pretty quickly. We're watching those at the very back of the field all scramble for those top 13 positions. At the front, no such fighting though, as it's still Damon Woods that leads from Jordan Kelly. These cars not really breaking away, and that's something that we'd expect, Lewis, with the amount of draft that we really build up with these machines.
Yeah, if second and third, if they battle really hard, they'll allow Damon Woods to check out. But right now, there's no points being dished out for this race or anything like that, or prize money or whatever. This is just to get them into the final. Do remember as well, there's no qualifying sessions. That was Dylan Burst running right. It might be, I don't know who it was. Someone ran right. It might have been Katsadonis running a little bit wide through Graham Hill. Certainly was. But yeah, this does decide your starting order in that final. So there is a little bit up for grabs for those positions.
Not really going to see too much chopping and changing. You'd have to assume, though, this is where the chopping and changing is more likely to be. Morgan Burkhardt has been able to jump back up into 12th in front of James McCritchie, but they've got a bit of separation to those behind. Got to wonder for...
This is a crash at T1 for James Bell and Gronkowski, those that were just behind this battle. So that's them done.
That's what I was just about to say. Given that Gronkowski was about a second and a half behind, not really closing, was there a need to fight? And well, now you have to assume that if Christian can close in that 34, he will have to try and make a move. We're almost halfway through this one.
Now, I was telling you a little story from yesterday before we went live. That I was watching my good mate Dan Kell, who's out in the next race, and he had a spin on lap 1, dropped down to the back of the order and was working his way through. Currently, he was running about 15th position with a lap or so to go, and we were thinking there was no way anyone in the top 13 is going to fight because they've got such a big gap to those behind. Wrong. They fought and they caused a massive 6-car pile-up. So do not count anyone out from that are currently below that cut line. There's always going to be some drama up ahead as people get a bit bold as Gordy Much starts working his way forwards.
Gordy Much got bold, but Smith is trying to get back alongside. There was definite contact between the left rear and the right front respectively. Only momentum seemingly lost rather than any sort of damage on either of their machines, but it's lost them some momentum, lost them some draft as well as we swoop round back around the final corner to mark 5 laps complete and this first heat officially halfway done.
Yeah, plenty of time left to go for these drivers to pick their way through, and hey, don't even count Gordy Much from moving his way even further through the order. He messaged me last night saying, yeah, I'm going to take part in it. I'm not going to do much practice though. So yeah, he's here for a bit of fun, as is everyone else. I think there's a couple of issues behind though at T1.
Yes, but those are now for drivers realistically not in contention to work their way on forward. There are 3 drivers still very much fighting for things. McCritchie has gotten on pass and Burkhardt has dropped outside of the top 13, and he's in the blue and white trying to hunt down out of that long left-hand sweeper where, let's be honest, track limits are a suggestion because there's AstroTurf for you to run off into.
Yeah, the track limits aren't as harsh as you would expect. You know, the MSA would probably step in and be like, "What are you doing, lads?" As Dana Moore works his way past Fraser Smith inside that top 8. Obviously, keep an eye back down the order. We see Dana Moore straight down the inside. Fraser Smith drops back to 8th position. Solid move, but it's not going to be done yet as the run towards Druids continues. Almost contact between the pair.
That was a bit of a block up in towards Druids. Smith still has the inside in the RAF-inspired Formula Ford. Oh, and then pushed out and almost onto the grass. Amor gets on through, but I'm sure there's going to be some talking to there. And unlike in Fuji, there's no headlight flasher for the drivers to express their frustration right now.
No, but there is a voice chat, which I'm sure is somewhat active, bit of smoke up ahead. I think that's just a slide through the final corner more so than anything else. That must have been from Katsudonis, just going for a little bit of a slide in the final corner, going to cost him 1, maybe 2 positions as Thomas Rage is going to get down the inside as well.
That's looked past, and Katsudonis recognised no point really fighting it too hard. We've seen Katsudonis plenty here on RaceSpot TV and the variety of Prodigy Racing League tournaments. Can he try and avoid being swarmed as well by Gordy Much, who's trying to look the long way around, try and cut back underneath, but Katsudonis wise to it, parks it on the apex. Jordan Kelly, by the way, just continues to close up towards the front as Burkhardt gets through for a 13th position. I would not be surprised if Damon Woods is under pressure in the closing 2 laps of the race.
Yeah, like I say, they're all fighting for what will be pole position in the final as well up there. But these drivers are fighting for their way in. Like you say, Morgan Burkhardt and Christian Berendier all fighting over 13th position, that final transfer spot. And you want to get in, you want to get straight through into the finalists. You do not want to go anywhere near that last chance to qualify. Just a chance.
No, not a chance, but here comes the move for the race lead. And it was a look from Jordan Kelly for a second, and he backed out of it, but on corner exit out of Druids, back alongside Damon Woods is trying to defend for all he's got. He runs himself wide off the corner, but Burr, Schrade, and Katsudonis and Much will close as well. We're coming up to the final lap of heat number 1.
Yeah, this is going to get brave. Damon Woods, the highest I-rated driver on the grid, the driver who would theoretically be the favourite. But these cars are so weird, so niche, so different to drive than what we typically see raced at high levels in iRacing. So Damon Woods doing a fantastic job to hang on at the moment. 0.3 of a second between him, but 1 second separating the top 6 as we start the final lap, Arjuna.
What a shot from up above as look to the inside from Schrage on burst. Not going to happen. Down in towards that second corner. They will climb once more. No sends attempted, but Kelly closes. There's going to be some defensive lines being taken in this middle and final sections of the lap.
Yeah, we'll see where anyone's going to look for anything. At this point, if I'm sat there, I don't want to risk anything. You can try something in the final quarter, but it's this really risky up and under. You don't want to go anywhere near it. If I'm in 13th, 14th position, maybe I'll give it a go. If I'm for the race lead, absolutely not. It's not worth it.
You can see that on this final lap, it's maybe been a little less hectic than we were hoping for, we were expecting for. There will be a drag race to the line, and Thomas Schrage is pushed off onto the grass. Damon Woods grabs the victory in heat number 1. Jordan Kelly, Thomas Schrage, and Dylan Burson, Tom Katsadonis all filtering in behind on a fantastic way to kick things off. Drag race and a photo finish, but Morgan Burkhardt grabs the final spot, the automatic spot in the main event in the fight for 13th.
I think it's got to be said, Dylan Burst, what were you doing there, mate? Yeah, well, there's a car down your inside. Like, fair enough, you don't want to give up the position, but I mean, you're risking not going through to the final. That was bafflingly risky in my book. Very, very silly, but thankfully still goes through, so we won't talk any more about it. We've got to basically do this again and find another 13 drivers.
Let's take a quick look at those race results as we'll get swapped on over very quickly in towards the second session. All of these drivers advance. Of course, Damon Woods at the very top of the order, but Luca Becker, James McCritchie, and Morgan Burkhardt, the final 3 drivers to move on forward. The rest of the names will have to fight in the LCQ, but as they have their attention set on doing so, we can line you up through the starting grid for heat number 2, where Henry Moore and Jason Smith will be on the front row with Jacob Toffs and then Andre Castro behind them. Dario Frattini and Juan Z. Lin will share row number 3 with Javier Sanchez, Matt White, Mark Fletcher, Harry Fox, Matt Kendall, and then Scott Hassler through the top 12. We'll keep going because they're already gridded up and almost ready to go. Shoma Shinatani, Dan Kell, Lucas Raskovic, Matthew Levine, Scott Oliver, and then Jacob Reed make up the top 18 with just Harvey Jones, Edward Shelley, and then Dan Schuring making up the rest of the grid. Quick fire run through them, and as mentioned, they are turning their attention towards the lights, ready to go for heat number 2. Another 10 laps underway, and this time, another good jump from the front of the field. Almost 4 wide, instantly behind. Maybe a challenge, though, from Jason Smith down into the opening corner as Henry Moore leads us towards Druids.
I've seen Henry Moore win so many times this car, arguably, pound for pound. I would say he is the best driver on this platform in this car. Not to put the pressure on, sorry, kid. But he is a fantastic talent when it comes to his vehicle. He'll be a tough cookie to crack. But that's in this race. We'll wait and see in the final. Oh, it's contact. And that'll be Jacob Toffs going out.
And that's drama down through that one corner where Lewis highlighted it early doors. But Henry Moore and Jason Smith try and take advantage and break away. We'll come to the end of this opening lap. And again, the fight for 13th, the one where most of the eyes will be focused. Dan Kell and Scott Hassler amongst that fight as they run their way to the end of lap 1.
Look at Jacob Reed, though. One driver that we definitely have seen before when it comes to open wheel competition on iRacing at the highest level. Gone up 4 positions on the race start, did not get a lap time in qualifying. Now sits 14th and just below that cut-off line. You can see him there in the dark green car, just the back of shot. Watch for him to move his way through the order like a hot knife through butter.
Here's that driver in the cut line, and he may now have even more drama to deal with because that little checkup, that concertina, has allowed Reed to close all the way back up and outside of Jacob Toffs on the opening lap. A second bit of drama down through that very same corner, and this time for Edward Shelley.
Yeah, so Shelley's going to drop back down the order. Jacob Toffs is now actually in kind of this train as the door is opened up for Jacob Reed to move his way inside that top 13 through the final corner they go. But watch out for the likes of Raskovic, who might be able to work his way through in all of this. It's all going to get a bit dicey into the first corner, but look at the gap growing to Dan Kell.
This is important because Dan Kell now was going to be comfortable, but a mistake from Harry Fox is now going to link them all back up once again. There was a puff of tyre lockup in towards Druid slightly further in front, so no matter where you look, they're fighting. Fletcher in the Altitude Esports car is now up 4 positions into 5th of his own little fight, but outside of the top 13 battle, of course, these drivers fighting for starting spots in the main event. The other thing to be thinking about is the drivers that automatically qualify on through, Lewis, get a chance to watch the rest of their competitors in the LCQ.
Exactly. Well, this is the thing, is that you've got to remember the 13 drivers that have worked their way through from the first race. They're basically sat there for 20 minutes, getting cold, thinking about where they're going to be, how they're going to grab that lead into turn one. Like they have to sit there and just wait. These drivers, at least they only get 10 minutes to sort of sit back. Yeah, it's fine. You can go and grab yourself a sandwich or maybe a cup of tea and get yourself ready for that final. Go very British here.
Yeah, exactly. But you're not complaining about the weather just yet. That's a spin around for
it's lovely.
Scott Oliver. It does look lovely at Brands Hatch, I must say. And this is then what happened to Jacob Tofts.
Yeah, so to be honest, you've got to say Tofts was squeezed out. Was that Andre Castro?
I think it was.
Just to be fair, just tried to open up the corner a little bit. Cars there. Yes, it's only a slight overlap, and there's the whole my corner, whatever. Rubbish. If the car's there in this car, you're so vulnerable in this car.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What's happened to Dan Kell?
Oh, has he been a silly boy?
He's
probably been assisted, to be fair. No, actually, I won't give him any credit. No, he's probably done it himself.
I was going to say, you're giving an awful lot of credit to friend of RaceSpot, Dan Kell.
Yeah, it's fine. He is a terrible driver. But
no.
Solo.
Oh, no.
Danny boy. Oh, my goodness. I'm sure his parents and grandparents are probably keeping an eye on what's happening. And you can see this is what he normally gets up to.
Here's the thing. Dan was part of the greatest team of all time, ever,
That's
on
true.
iRacing. What was the team name again?
It was the Aurora Artifact Calamity Flag to Flag powered by RaceSpot.
Yeah, the team that was specifically designed with a name to break the graphics on the timing towers. Regardless of that, though, it had no race winners, at least major race winners in its mix. Jason Smith, you mentioned earlier the credentials from him carrying forward into the simulator. That's what we love to see. Increasingly, of course, in the year of 2023, Motorsports UK have become more and more I don't want to say invested, but just connected with the community, doing community events, even the 2023 Radical Esports UK Cup. There's so many different things that we have to enjoy.
Yeah, you've got to remember, between himself, between Henry Moore and stuff, there's a lot of young drivers in this that have deep connections with Formula Fords. Henry Moore, his dad's got some solid connections with Formula Ford, and having raced and such in them. I'm liking seeing this where it's like the second generation of drivers, rather than doing it in motorsport where it's very expensive. They're kind of like doing it in sim racing a lot, and it's great to see. Let's see if Smith can take over the race. He look down the inside at T1.
It's a bold move for the lead, and he does get on through, but let's not forget they're just fighting for effectively starting spots in the feature itself, side by side up in towards Druids. It's allowed Castro to close, as by the way, Wanji Lin's had an issue, and now that fight for 13th that you see on the bottom of the screen instantly means that two of the drivers in a three-way fight might have a chance to move on forward.
Look at that though, Jacob Tofts 13th position after the issue on the first lap, finds himself above the cut line at the moment with 3 laps or 3 and a bit laps left to go. Could be a big moment for him, and we'll have to wait and see. We ride on board with him now, obviously trying to find his way past Matthew Levine at the moment. You can do an up and under at the final corner. I've said before, you can give it a go. It's just very, very risky and sometimes isn't worth it, as Henry Moore's trying to go for it again.
Here we go. Let's try and keep an eye on this, because it's going to be a preview of what we probably will see for every single lap of the main event. Moore gets pushed out wide, but this is the racecraft. Smith blocks the move back up the hill in towards Druids, and Castro's there. Frattini is there. Fletcher's not far off as well.
Four-way fight for the race victory here in the second of our heats, and of course the driver that finishes in first will start on the front row, which could be quite important. Keeps you a little bit out of the danger zone when you imagine that Dario Frattini at the moment will be starting from 8th position in that race. There is quite a lot to be gained from working your way up in this, but there's also a lot to be lost as well if you overstep yourself. We've only got 2 laps left to go. We'll see who's going to come out on top.
And again, let's not forget that the cut line for 13th has got its own little focus. Tofts is back in front of Levine, so he's got himself a little bit more comfort, but how are they all going to fare behind them? Castro with the big look to the inside of turn 1. Bobble over the curb for Smith, but it allows him to once again just move to the right-hand side, rising up in towards Druids. Moore's getting increasingly chocked up on the outside line, and that's what I was scared of. Pushed off into the grass, but great car control holds on to it. Castro around the outside, though. What a bold move that was.
Yeah, bit of leaning on each other as well. Could be 3 wide here. This could be big drama. My goodness me, how Henry Moore was able to hang on to second position there, I do not know. Dario Frattini was trying to go for the gap, which was kind of always going to close, but he was, rightfully going for it. Just a bit of a sketchy moment there, and that nearly ended in disaster. It shows the quality of the field, and it certainly didn't.
Here we go, back towards the line, and now with a bit more separation. Let's ride on board from the perspective of Frattini, with Castro looking to the inside of Moore. How did they not make contact? And now Moore trying to squeeze Castro up in towards Druids. Oh, there's the contact. Frattini will try and make it 3 wide.
So Henry Moore is going to drop back down the order now into 4th position. Has a lot of work to do in that final. Door was opened. Andre Castro through into 2nd. Racing to Jason Smith is miles down the road, looking to do what he did yesterday and maybe take a victory here in the Formula Ford Festival. And
it's a great example of great fighting, yes, but just how much it can cost you in terms of time. They'll have a bit of a run to the line in the scramble for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, but Jason Smith transitions the experience from reality into the virtual, and he comes out on top in heat number 2. 3 wide finish between Moore, Castro and Frattini, but Castro the one that grabs 2nd, and the inside row, or rather outside of the 2nd row, come the start of the main event. Toffs 12th, Levine 13th, and then Harvey Jones, the first driver to just miss out, but 2 heats done. It now means some desperate drivers moving forward into an LCQ.
Exactly. Like we said, we've got 26 of our drivers, but we do need 4 more to complete our grid for the final. And honestly, I'm terrified with the idea. I have no idea who it's going to be.
Here's a quick look again at the results. We won't read through them. Jason Smith, the winner. All drivers on this page move directly on forward. It's those behind, 14th on back, that have to work their way now in through this LCQ. 10 laps again of action expected. Christian Berendia alongside Harvey Jones on the front row, with Paulo Lopez, Lucas Rashkovic, Tobias Segner, and then Wanzi Lin on the front 3 starting rows. Jordan Grukowski, Scott Oliver, James Bell, Edward Shelley, Andrew Petty, and then Scott Hasler through the rest of your top 12, with Valentin Barney, Dan Kell, and then Dylan Freckleton and Dan Schuring having some work to do. And again, there are 16 cars that will enter. Only 4 leave this and go to the main event.
Oh, God, you're making it feel like we're about to enter some big old MMA fighting. I think we are.
It's more of a Royal Rumble than anything, so probably WWE style stuff. But once again, drivers will get their focus up towards the lights. It's 10 more laps of action for some of them. 4 spots in the 2023 BRSCC iRacing Formula Ford Festival main event underway. And here we go once again, with the leader getting a good jump into turn number 1, side by side, inside of your top 10. Yes, it's James Bell and Edward Shelley that find themselves battling, and Dan Kell's already off the track.
Science. Just trying to push it a little bit too hard there into the first quarter, but again, with the top 4 going through, there's already drama into Druids. It was the Lego car that went off. James Bell, Shelley. It's getting worse.
Oh, and it's still somehow getting worse after that. So Freckleton and Shelley drop to the back. And again, just 4 advance. So there's already a bit of a breakaway building here as Berendia comes to the end of the opening lap, almost half a second clear, as Jones gets dived by Lopez. Helter-skelter as expected.
Yeah, that was pretty much the first lap we were wondering. I was wondering with Berendia, like maybe he jumped the start because he had such an unreal gap into the first corner. I think he just got the 116, the whopping 116 brake horsepower pushed down onto the road. Even my car's got more brake horsepower than that. It does weigh a bit more though.
Yes, I think you're right. The only black flag I see is for Edward Shelley right now, and he's back down on pit lane. Oh, here we go, 2 by 2 down through Druids, and again, top 4, the important number, and so it's Rashkovic in that white Formula Ford machine that currently has that all-important bubble spot. Wanzi Lin drops behind Scott Oliver as we look off the back of this number 40 machine. How defensive would you be in this situation, Lewis?
Well, I mean, look, this is this could be your last 8 laps going around Brands Indy, or maybe you've got 20 more. It's this one position that makes all of the difference in all of that. So I'd be pretty defensive, and if I were on the other side of it, I would be on the attack like you wouldn't believe. Oh my goodness.
We're going to try with some various bits of contact almost in through the opening corner. Big opportunity presented as Scott Oliver, Wanzi Lin and Andrew Petty all find themselves swapping around further back, but second position sees Paulo Lopez and Harvey Jones still fighting. It's checking them all up. Berendia's breaking away.
Yeah, to pull that margin right now, 1.4 seconds, and securing it basically for themselves right now, as you can see, on board with Tobias Siegner. And got to wait for that right move. It's not about going for any move around Brands Hatch. There's a couple of right places to go for one. There's a couple of wrong places to go for one. Around here, sometimes it's easier to wait for a mistake from those ahead and pierce your way through in all of that. It's easier said than done. Let's go with that.
I was, by the way, thinking that I recognized the livery on Andre Castro's machine, and I was right. He did race in the Formula Ford Festival last year, came third in it. So quite cool to see, again, more drivers carrying over that reality to virtual rather than the other way around. Say goodbye to Barandia, because all of this fighting is great to watch, but Siegner has nowhere to go, and Harvey Jones is into second. Paulo Lopez now the driver in the hot seat in fourth, as Rashkovic has slid on through and now has a buffer spot to Siegner in the 17 car in fifth spot.
Yeah, got to say, Siegner actually played that one really well against Lopez. Could have gone for a very, very risky move there, but it probably would have ended in an incident and a big old crash between the pair of them. So Lopez is the one on the hot seat right now, coming out of pit lane. I believe that is Edward Shelley, just on the rundown of the first corner. One of the worst pit X's known to mankind here at Brands Hatch.
Is it the worst, maybe, though? It could be.
It's up there. It is terrible.
I mean, Spa Endurance is also pretty bad.
Yeah, but this is next level.
I agree.
This is a different county. This is a different planet.
That's a big block slightly further back, as Scott Oliver doesn't allow the 5-star Motorsports machine of Wanji Lin to get on through. Yeah, I think I agree with you. This might be the worst in all of human history.
It's certainly up there. I mean, you're going over a really difficult blind crest where the pit exit comes out so late and you're literally dropped on the apex of that very fast corner. It's not good. Great track, though. Let's see who's going to finish in that top four, though. Like you say, Barandia's miles down the road, 2 seconds. And look at this now, 7-car fight for that final transfer spot?
I mean, it's quite fun, but it's quite scary at the same time. Officially halfway through this race, 5 laps still left to go. So Jones in second, Lopez third, Rashkovic is in fourth. I don't think it's going to stay this way for very long, though. Up the inside, Siegner's trying to squeak his way on forward. It will allow the opportunity for a driver to get slammed off into the wall. It's Siegner and Oliver that come to blows.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to be the last casualty from this group as well. I'm sure there'll be more. Lin trying to try and hang on, but goes around the outside and drops back now to 6th position, 2 seconds back to DK, trying to work his way back into this mix. But right now it seems like we've got a 2-car breakaway, because I get the feeling Harvey Jones has also got the same kind of gap as they're side by side behind that.
That was Paulo Lopez getting the hip check out wide. This is turning now into a mixed martial art matchup, although it could turn into a bare knuckle brawl at any time. Lopez goes from second at one point, now down to 6th, and finds himself very much in trouble in terms of having couple of moves to make to get back on forward. Lin around the outside in that 5-star Motorsports car tries to look into the grass to carry his momentum past Rashkovic. None of these drivers wants to lift off here, and as our good friend George Morgan would say, it's time for pedal to the metal and go, go, go.
Yeah, and another one to chuck into the mix as well. Balancing body coming through. It's all just chaos. And now it seems it's Rashkovic on that cut-off. I mean, I don't even know where to start with all of this.
I mean, look at the way that car bounces back onto the track.
Yeah, that hurts my back even looking at it. That's mostly because I'm an old man, so it's fine. Like I say, just it's so easy to have those kinds of incidents when you're in a pack like this. It's so easy to trip over. I mean, I was still amazed that we didn't see it in the semi-final race with Moore and that lot.
Yeah, I think this, by the way, is Dylan Freckleton running at the very back. He's not had the easiest of days so far. Someone that we've seen qualify for some major iRacing special event top splits where you have to work your way on forward. Lopez out wide, and there's definitely contact. And then here comes the Bing Bag Bosch.
To be fair, I will say that is actually really easy to do. Coming through that final corner, and because you're kind of already committed, and then when you see a car in the middle of the road, you get on the brakes a little bit more. It pushes more weight onto the nose of the car, which just lifts the rear end and spins it round. 2 laps left to go, and as long as these drivers don't fight, they're going through to the final. If they fight even remotely, they are not.
And guess who's suddenly back in contention?
There's a reason I've got faith in the 2022 Virtual Motorsports Online Touring Car UK champion. And also, my teammate when we got no incidents at Bathurst. So, that's a win.
And a member of the greatest team of all time.
And a member of the greatest team of all time.
Which did have the greatest number of all time. Dan does not, unfortunately, have that number today.
No, indeed. The 27. He normally races in the 89, but that's fine. He is going to lose out of position here and drop down to 6th.
I mean, I got to tell you, the way that these drivers are able to run so closely without crashing into one another, it'd be great if some top-level sim racers could take a note of this.
Oh, yeah, no, we see the very best in sim racing clout each other 1,000 times in these kind of races, which is kind of why I'm glad most of them aren't here. And we get a fun little grid of people that actually enjoy this stuff.
And know how to race in this car as well. I think that's an important distinction. Although, having said this, Dan Kell, Wan Ji Lin, great fight on the final lap. Doesn't really matter.
No.
Because that's the last that we're going to see of them. It's not the last that we're going to see of this man at the front, Christian Berendia. Broke away, didn't need to be asked twice. Comes out on top in the LCQ at this 2023 BRSCC iRacing Formula Ford Festival. He'll advance along with Harvey Jones, Andrew Petty, and Lucas Rashkovich, although Dan Kell did end up holding off Wan Ji Lin at the end of the day.
Yep, at least there's that. But like you say, those bottom 11 drivers we will no longer see in competition today. Which is kind of sad, but that's the joy of this style of racing. The other driver, by the way, is Dan Schuring, because there was 42, so it should have been 12 that we're missing. Dan Schuring never took part in this race. Was on the grid for it, was going to start in 16th, but left with quite a quote in chat, which I'm not going to read.
Oh, did he?
Oh, he did.
Oh, no, now you're getting me all excited and all interested as to what was said. We don't have time, really, though, to hang about, because they're going straight down to the starting grid for the main event. The 2023 iRacing BRSCC Formula Ford Festival has its grid set. Let's run you down through how they'll line up for the main event itself for the 20 laps of action. Damon Woods, Jason Smith on the front row with Jordan Kelly, Andre Castro, Thomas Schrage, and then Dario Frattini through the rest of the front 3 rows. Dylan Burst, Henry Moore, Tom Katsadonis, and Mark Fletcher making up the rest of the top 10. It'll be Gordy Much, Javier Sanchez sharing row 6, 13 for Dan Amor with Matt White to his right-hand side, Fraser Smith, Shoma Shintani, Isaac Phelps, Matt Kendall, and then in 19th and 20th spots, Ann Medina and Jacob Reed. It'll be Luca Becker, Harry Fox, James McCritchie, Jacob Toffs, the rest of the top 24, with Morgan Burkhardt and Matthew Levine, the final drivers that worked on directly from their heats. Christian Berendia, Harvey Jones, Andrew Petty, and Lucas Rashkovich making up the rest of the starting order. And already the drivers have launched their way to the start of the main event. 20 laps of action, and here we go into turn 1, Lewis.
Yeah, he did well to get through that grid, but I understand, take a breath. Is Damon Woods needed, Jason Smith behind, Henry Moore trying to work his way past in the background, that distinctive blue car. Probably going to be involved in a little bit of an incident here if they're not careful. It's Dylan Burster on the inside there. That is the highest place side-by-side bit as they head their way down to Graham Hill Bend, and that's where the contact is.
What did you say about Graham Hill Bend, and what did you say about that battle pack? It's Dylan Burst pointed in the wrong direction, as is Henry Moore, and 2 of the potential favourites caught out in incidents as we cycle around to the end of the opening lap.
Like I say, it's so risky. The car on the inside wants to open up the corner as much as possible. The car on the outside is kind of struggling and scrambling for grip. If they clip a little bit of the grass, they go round. So very sketchy indeed as we look back on board with Thomas Schrage. You've got Andre Castro. You've got Jordan Kelly, who was looking down the inside of Jason Smith, and half a second of a gap up to our race leader.
And here we go with the big move around the outside for Schrage, and that's on a teammate potentially as Andre Castro fends off the challengers. Back down the hill they go. Dan Amor gets past Tom Katsadonis. That's inside of the top 10, and these are drivers that still have a chance to fight for the win, you've got to say. No one in this main train is out of the fight just yet.
No, but if they do fight any harder, particularly in that sort of like third, fourth, even like the battle for second, if they battle harder, the race victory will fall out of their hands. Those gaps between first and second and third are on the verge of being slightly too large. So they have to be very, very careful here with where and when and how they go for moves.
So, 2 laps complete. Remember, 20 laps in this main event as compared to the 10 laps that we've seen in all of the previous races. But don't worry about tyres. That's not an issue in this race here today.
No, exactly. To be fair, the tyres will be getting better and better throughout the stint. So, it's literally just a full-on attack. In fact, the car is at its sketchiest and most drivable for about the first 4 or 5 laps. It becomes easier to drive and more compliant with what you want it to do as the race goes on. Some of the drivers on the grid are very well aware of it. Other drivers, maybe less so. A bit of a look down the inside. I think that might have been Fraser Smith.
It was indeed. I must say I quite like his RAF-inspired livery. Now, I'm not sure what Javier Sanchez has got in front for a livery of his own, but that was a big wobble from Smith, and I've got to think there was potential contact there. In towards turn 1, though. Here's the look once again. Jordan Kelly, Andre Castro battling up towards turn 2, but peeling themselves away from the battle for the lead.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about. Like I say, it might be a 2-3 horse race. Well, at the moment it's just going to be 2, unless this lot get themselves sorted immediately. Although knowing the speed of Damon Woods and Jason Smith is going to be between those two for the festivities, for the victory this afternoon as they head their way through the final sector. Andre Castro, Jordan Kelly and Thomas Strange. I saw him do that yesterday, and this time it is absolutely perfect once more. That's up their move of the day.
Oh, what a move that was indeed, but hasn't got it quite done and dusted just yet. He's got the draft from Castro in front, but in towards the first corner. They'll dive down the hill and around the outside. Jordan Kelly's not going to hang this one up just yet. Finds himself hip checked off into the gravel though, and finally concedes 4th position to Schrage. I was just looking at the rest of Andre Castro's social media, not just looking at some of his experiences being part of the 50th Formula Ford Festival, but he's gone out this year and done a bunch of NASCAR Xfinity Series racing, which I can't imagine is the same as what he's doing once again here today.
Slight difference in discipline, yeah. But as I've always said, if you want to become a better driver, even in the world of motorsport or in the world of sim racing, change up your disciplines, because you're always going to learn weird things that help in other cars. Jason Smith takes a really good look at the exhaust of Damon Woods and is now going to try and go for the race lead. Backs out of it slightly though, because he sees the 1.5 second gap behind and thinks, let's keep that for now.
I mean, when would you start fighting? 10 laps done in this race? 15 laps done in this race?
Oh! Yeah, oh my goodness, Andre Castro.
He's out the wall.
I think he missed the wall. I think he might have been able to arrest the car before the wall, but if not, I mean, either way, he's dropped right the way down the order anyway.
Oh, and that's what happened to Henry Moore and to Dylan Burst. One more look at it as they battled out of Druids down into Graham Hill Bend, and I think it's the car on the outside that gets a bit of net code and gets shoved out wide into the grass, pitches it into a spin, and then Henry Moore is on the receiving end of the aftermath.
Yeah, like I say, Henry Moore definitely the innocent victim in the middle of all of that. Like you say, just the side-by-side in there. Bursts are going out a little bit wide, just dipping a little bit into the grass and then just bang, straight into the side of Moore, and that's what's removed them from the battle. Obviously, the struggles are fighting around Brands Indy as the gap now 2 seconds of the race. I think, by the way, for me, I'm talking 5 laps left to go in the race, then I go on the attack. No earlier.
Exactly. I think that's why we can continue looking at third on back and the fight effectively for the bronze medal, which has Thomas Schrage, Jordan Kelly, and Gordy Much, who's up 6 positions. Again, we didn't necessarily talk about this too much because of how quick fire these races have been going between looking at the results, getting to the grid for the next one. But Gordy Much started down in 11th. Starting spot dictated by finishing spot in the heat. He's done a good job to work his way on forward.
Yeah, not going to be the chance for a victory though, as Jordan Kelly and Thomas Schrage once again switch their way over, riding on board now with Gordy Much. Like I say, victory, no, not on the cards. Podium most certainly is though, so we'll see if Much can figure his way through on all this one, going for the up and under and potentially down the inside at Druids, but I'm pretty sure that'll get covered off.
Must say, this is where we're seeing the racecraft though, because they're not really overly committing just yet in any of these battles. They recognize that after Castro's little mistake, they don't need to force the issue at least too much. Henry Moore, by the way, fans of his will be disappointed to hear that he is unfortunately done for the day, watching on from pit lane, as is Dylan Burst, the only 2 retirees on the day so far. Here's a look at turn 1 and what happened to Andre Castro.
Yeah, let's see. So out wide. Oh, you see, he dipped. Yeah, I did think he pulled it up clear of the wall. I have seen a Porsche end up in that tree, by the way, in real life. But this time you can see he gets squeezed out a little bit wide, and as soon as he dips the rear left in the gravel, the car just spins immediately. Unsavable catch. It
doesn't help when your left rear gets hooked up with the right front of someone, as that's a big one. And it's still going. I think that was someone getting airtime. Still spinning around was Dan Amor, but goodness, chaos out of turn number 1.
Isaac Phelps was the one who skipped up into the sky into the heavens and managed to bring the car back down to planet Earth. But I think there was about 4 or 5 cars involved in all of that going through the first corner, which is a very typical incident here at Brands. Let's see how this one unfolded.
So Schrage is on the outside, is already around and getting sideways. Someone else.
One goes, yeah.
And then the rejoin. Oh, come on.
My goodness. 0 out of 10.
I mean, that's pretty egregious as rejoins go.
Yeah, that's the worst we've seen of the day so far. So at least there is that. That is a pretty terrible rejoin. Like I say, I understand this slide and this spin, and that's what kind of caught Dan Moore coming through there as well, and that's why Moore went around. I get that one, like I said, avoiding incidents is actually really, really tricky in this car. Gets onto the reverse gear, back to the barrel trap, and then gets going again. So that's at least some smart driving. Let's see on board with Dan Moore as to how this one was pieced together.
Yes, so 1 wide, 2 wide, 3 around.
Just not much he can do there.
And that, he does put it in reverse gear, doesn't he?
Good man.
Oh, wow.
Good
Look
man.
at that. The J-turn. I mean, that's more out of Tokyo Drift than Brands Hatch Drift, to be fair.
Look, honestly, he might be a Chelsea fan, but even I can support that.
Okay, sorry. Now that I know he's a Chelsea fan, I instantly don't like that anymore.
He does have a board behind him, though, that he can write messages on. And he did write Henry Moore is my hero on one of the rounds. So at least that's now. It's very wholesome.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a pretty sick bit of driving, just unfortunately not conducive to good lap times.
No, as it turns out, Lewis, spinning is not conducive to good laps.
No, it's not. It's weird, that, isn't it?
It's still not the most obvious thing you've ever said in the world.
No, to be fair, I've seen a lot of things more obvious than that. Even the one that I know the quote that you're talking about. But
yeah.
Speaking of this battle, the gap is either going to close up, it's going to grow, or it's going to stay the same.
2-time Simi Award winner Lewis McLean with the hard-hitting facts about the race in front of you. But here we go, back up in towards Druids. You say 5 to go. I say you've got 3 seconds. Gordy Much is fighting with Jordan Kelly in through Druids as well. Why not go for it now?
Yeah, I was going to say, when the gap's like 2 seconds, that's where I want to leave it. When the gap's like 3 or whatever, you've kind of got, you can fire one down the inside now. You can give it a go now. And if it doesn't work, maybe like hold on for a sec. Like, let's see where the gap's going to be, and then go for it again. Like you're giving yourself a few more options. If you leave it completely late, you may run out of time to do it.
This is the thing, though. No matter where you look, there's fights going on. So 5th, Mark Fletcher in the Altitude Esports car. Tom Katsadonis from Down Under. Fraser Smith behind in those RAF liveried inspired colors as well. Behind them, you see another 3-car, 4-car battle pack. This is the great thing about the Formula Ford Festival, whether it's in the real or virtual world. We're seeing so many drivers develop their racecraft. Javier Sanchez alongside with Shoma Shintani.
Yeah, so like I say, it's a rookie car in real world, in obviously in esports as well. Here on iRacing, it's one of those rookie vehicles, one that you kind of build your craft on, and it's why we see quite a lot of drivers now. They build a lot of their iRacing by just racing in this car. They just literally just race this car because of the way it drives, and they quite like it, the way it slips and slides. Dan Moore with the up and under, brilliant move on Jacob Reed. Might even be 2 for the price of 1 because out wide goes Javier Sanchez. Oh, and into the pit lane as well. That's so disappointing, Dan.
He had a black flag. Now, is this a drive-through penalty for the incident limit? It very well could be, in which case Naughty Dan's been in lots of contact in 13 laps to get a drive-through penalty.
Respect, though. That's a drive that you got to look up. Yeah. I think that is more a penalty for breaching that limit. Can't think of where else it would have come from. How else you would have got a drive-through?
I mean, you can't get that many off-tracks here without crashing your car.
Yeah, because the thing is, they've moved the off-track from Graham Hill Bend. I remember it used to be fairly harsh, but now it's been moved out a little bit. You actually you can kind of abuse an awful lot at Graham Hill. Paddock, you don't really get one either. So it's probably not off track. The track's quite lenient when it comes to off tracks. The exit of Druids, you can actually pick one up, but that's about it. Here, that's not off track.
So Dan has just crashed into everybody and their grandparents as well.
But he's been in the middle of the pack. So to be fair, considering some of the driving that we've seen today, I'm not actually that surprised. Of course, it doesn't matter. It's a blameless system. It doesn't matter who's at fault. You both get a 4x. So there might be a bit of that as well. So give him a little bit of room.
That sounds like bias, Lewis. He hasn't sent me a T-shirt.
That's true. He hasn't sent me a T-shirt either. That's because it would be a Chelsea t-shirt, and I'm not interested in that.
No, but it sounds like you can get an Alpha Esports t-shirt out of him sooner rather than later. So, traffic in front, 5 to go. Woods and Smith. It's down to these two. Much and Kelly still finding their way for the final step of the podium and the bronze medal that goes with it. But as Smith just carries his way over the curb, he still hasn't really gone for a move just yet and still content to wait behind. We've got 5 to go, you know.
Yeah, bit of lap traffic as well up ahead, which is, I'm sure, slightly concerning as Jordan Kelly works his way back through onto the podium. Fraser Smith also getting past Katsadonis now. The 3-car fight for the final spot inside the top 5. Jacob Reed switching over with Shoma Shantani, at the moment. Those two switching round quite a bit. Xavier Sanchez and Jacob Tofts, who I think is actually, he is that car involved. Is it like a Hellman's Mayo car?
That's what it was. Yes, it does kind of look like it, doesn't it? Oh, is that Mark Fletcher coming back onto track? Although at least it's a somewhat decent rejoin. But for the lead, we finally have some action. Smith has gotten through in turn 1. Woods back around the outside, up towards Druids.
As I said before, Jason Smith, when I was commentating, when I was watching the one that was on last night, it was Jason Smith who ended up victorious last night. So he knows how to win around here in this event.
3 wide up towards Druid, and somehow they'll get through safely. Shintani's through to 7th. Fletcher, Reed and Tofts all behind. We've got 2 at the front, but Lewis, there's almost 10 further back.
Yeah, I mean, look at all of this in this. This is quite a fight back down the order at the bottom of your screen. I mean, count them all. Look on the left-hand side of your screen. It's basically, it is 7th through to 15th place, all fighting here. This is what Formula Fords are all about.
And I think, Jason Smith's been waiting long enough that he waited for the right opportunity and might not have to fight too much more, because up back towards Druids, he's almost got 3 car lengths in the braking zone. They're still all fighting. Shintani's dropped down to 12th as a result of this, but this fight for 7th, I can't look away.
No, absolutely not. Like you say, there's so much risky action in here, side by side down towards Graham Hill, but there is no way they are getting to the checkered flag in 3 laps time in this, not only this order with this many cars in this group. By the way, next time you watch Jason Smith go through Graham Hill Bend, look at how much of the track he is using. That's why he's so fast right now.
Oh, and it's gone bad.
There we go.
Lewis said it, and he almost, commentators cursed it. I'm calling it.
It's not a commentator's curse. I said it was going to happen, and it happened. Yeah, commentator's curse when you say something and then the opposite happens.
No, that's definitely not a commentator's curse. I agree with you there. Gordy Bush back past Jordan Kelly with 2 laps to go. Oh, what a fun afternoon, evening, morning it's been, no matter where you are. Very early morning in some parts of the world. Out through Graham Hill Bend with the traffic playing its part. It's Smith versus Woods with 1 lap to go.
Yeah, Jason Smith's got to do a bit of work here, but they do have a touch of lap traffic, which is going to be causing a couple of bits of concern. Those should jump out of the way here as we start the final lap. There is going to be a good run from Damon Woods.
Here we go. Final lap of the 2023 BRSCC iRacing Formula Ford Festival, and the momentum to the outside for Damon Woods. Jason Smith covers the inside, hops over the curb. Can he get to the inside up towards Druids?
Took way too much curb there at T1, but try and just hold this defensive line as they come down towards Druids. Damon Woods going to try and go around the outside. That is not going to work. At the bottom of your screen, you've got the Gordy Much, Jordan Kelly battle. At the moment, though, Jason Smith taking so much risk through Graham Hill Bend.
I'm loving this action, and it's just representative of what the Formula Ford Festival is meant to be about. Great racecraft, young talent on display, and showing the hunger that gets them to the very top. Jason Smith has carried his experience from reality into the virtual, and he'll come out of the final corner with a well-timed move, a well-judged move to be crowned the champion, the 2023 BRSCC iRacing Formula Ford Festival winner.
Solid effort from Jason Smith. Great battle. They're going to keep it after the checkered flag, because why not? But yeah, brilliant stuff from them. Gordy Much able to hang on and grab the podium as well, so a superb performance. Like I say, it was a dramatic afternoon. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here of racing, but very enjoyable.
Look at that, by the way, on the replay. 38 thousandths of a second between Gordy Much and Jordan Kelly at the line, racing all the way to the end. Despite the fact there was a 2-car breakaway at the front, you best believe that every driver in the field showed us a little bit of something here today, and ultimately, yes, we had the palaver, the incident on the final lap that saw plenty of drivers taken out, but a pretty clean race, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was the racing we were kind of expecting. Was it the cleanest we've ever seen? Absolutely not. Was it chaotic? 110%. It's exactly what you expect when you watch either the Formula 4 Festival in real life, or now it's recreation in sim here in iRacing. It's fantastic.
And hopefully the first of many times that we get to do this, as Jason Smith finally tries to figure out how to get the lack of horsepower in that Formula
It's
4
so bad.
to do some donuts.
Especially when your tyres are up to temperature, which they finally are. It's taken them 20 laps but they are finally up to temperature. To actually get them to lose grip on the road. Again, 116 brake horsepower. That is not much.
And the car weighs almost as much as me as well.
Yeah, it definitely weighs. It weighs less than me. Let's go with that.
I threw the opportunity in there for you to really throw me under the bus, but you chose not to. So thank you there. That is definitely not true. Jason Smith, though, quite nice, all things considered, in the racecraft between him and Damon Woods. Ultimately, not much side by side. It was one move, one decisive moment that saw Smith replicate his victory in the real world here in the sim. Woods will be maybe slightly frustrated, but great fight, and ultimately can't be too frustrated to come home second in what is such a strong field, where Gordy Much climbed up 8 positions to be finishing on the podium. Jordan Kelly right behind him in that photo finish, with Fraser Smith and Tomcat Adonis, the ATRS teammates, 5th and 6th at the end of the day. Mark Fletcher 7th, with Morgan Burkhardt 8th, Javier Sanchez, and then Matt Kendall making up the rest of your top 10, with Andrew Petty, Dario Frattini, Harry Fox, Luca Becker, Matthew Levine, Harvey Jones, Lucas Rashkovich, James McCritchie, and Medema. The final car on the lead lap before you get down to those involved in some of the wars. Matt White, Thomas Schrage, Jacob Toffs, Shoma Shintani, Christian Berendia, Dan Amor, Jacob Reed, Andre Castro, Isaac Phelps, Henry Moore, and then Dylan Burst, the 30 cars, with, of course, Moore and Burst having the incident on the early lap that saw them drop down the order. It would be around this time that usually we'd be looking forward to talking to some of the drivers, but I'm not necessarily sure if we're going to get the chance to do so here today. It was a really fun, quick hour of racing action, Lewis, the 2023 BRSEC iRacing Formula Ford Festival. Just the latest of the iRacing special events, and, well, the action never stops. Next weekend, we've got more coming at you as we go left turn racing for the Winter Derby.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's lovely to see some of these big staple events in the world of motorsport being recreated in iRacing. We've always said this, it's why we've always enjoyed having things like the Daytona 24-hour, Daytona 500, getting the Bathurst 1000. We've always loved having those ones, but to kind of add to the list with other reputable races is always fantastic, and this is another one to add to the list. Got to say, I am looking forward to the Chili Bowl. I do like myself a bit of that, even though I did hear you and O'Leary didn't know what it was. Is that right?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, let's be honest.
It's true. It's a very non-British thing. Let's put it that way.
Let's put it this way. I didn't know what the Chili Bowl was until I jumped onto iRacing, so I don't blame him, to be completely fair.
Goodness me. I only knew because... I actually don't know how I knew, but I've known it for a long time.
It's a wonderful indoor dirt race with dirt midgets that can basically drive on one wheel because they have so much power and such little weight. But yes, of course, such a long journey. It will come to a close on December the 17th, and can't wait to have you here on the iRacing Esports Network and on RaceSpot TV. Lewis, though, you talk about the lower powered cars. We have the SCCA runoffs. We have the BRSEC Formula Ford Festival. There is an increasing appetite in the iRacing universe for lower-powered machines, and I think you're looking forward to getting back behind the microphone for the upcoming British Formula 4 Esports Championship and its final rounds coming up.
Yeah, the penultimate one is on next week. Donington Grand Prix, of course, got 2 championships to sort in that. You've got the Formula Fords and you've got the British Formula 4 Esports Champion itself, where Gordy Much is the championship leader. We all like a little bit of low power, low downforce open wheelers because they're small, they're exciting, they're easy to race, and you can take them around anywhere. 2 final rounds in that being Donington Park and Brands Hatch, both on the Grand Prix layouts, both very raceable in their respective cars. It's why we love this kind of stuff. You get wheel-to-wheel action like what we've seen today.
Absolutely, and well, we thank you so much for joining us here on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. A short-fire iRacing special event, yes, but we packed plenty of action into the hour. The inaugural, and hopefully not the final, iRacing BRSEC Formula Ford Festival delivered the action. Jason Smith delivers with a victory that shows that the virtual and reality are closer than ever expected. Thank you so much for joining us. For Lewis McLeod alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Can't wait to do it once more. But for now, so long and goodbye. Just 2 more races in the iRacing special event calendar left to go.